thousands of gallons rushing down the Jordan. And God stops the Jordan for them so that they may cross. And once again, they see God's faithfulness. They'd seen God's faithfulness so many times in the desert, from food that fell from heaven, to a pillar of fire that led them at night, to a cloud that led them by day. On and on, they had God's faithfulness to them. But then finally, they get to cross into the promised land. He says, take a stone, pass in front of the ark the next morning. And then he says, I want you to go out, and I want you to put your stone down. And when they ask, where did these stones come from? You tell them about the faithfulness of God, and that he cut off the Jordan waters right before us, and that we were able to enter the promised land.
Hi, I'm Joshua, and that's Jericho over there.
Curses to the north, blessings to the south.
So we're pulling into Jericho. Jesus came in here at some point. This is where Zacchaeus climbed a sycamore tree.
Hey, man. Come down from here.
Zacchaeus was a wee little man. That's all I know.
We're sitting here in the city center of Jericho, the Greek Orthodox Church. You can see the shrine to Zacchaeus' tree behind us.
This is very old, the sycamore tree.
Comes from the same time period, the same place where Jesus would have passed through. There's a big shrine built over it now. You can see they've cut it down and somehow tried to preserve this stump so that it doesn't go away completely.
You know, this city was rebuilt at the cost of a gentleman from Bethel's 2 sons. It was pronounced as a curse after Joshua came through here, after the walls came down. God said whoever rebuilds this city will do so at the cost of his oldest son and his youngest son, which happened about 500 years later. But even so, the city has been rebuilt. This is area A out of the A, B, and C. Basically, if you're an Israeli citizen, you're not permitted to come into the city of Jericho. U.S. citizens can come in, and here we are.
What's your name?
Nice
to meet you.
You're welcome.
And now that we know who rebuilt the city and at what cost, how have we come to the current state of affairs where Jericho is a city again, but Israelis aren't allowed in? Well, here's Britannica's quick summary of the region around Jericho over the past 2,000 years or so. The area was part of the Roman Empire and later the Byzantine Empire before falling under the control of the fledgling Islamic Caliphate in the 7th century. Although the object of dispute during the Crusades, the region, then generally known as Palestine, remained under the sway of successive Islamic dynasties until the collapse of the Ottoman Empire at the end of World War I, when it was placed under British mandate from the League of Nations. Even before the mandate, the desire for a Jewish homeland prompted a small number of Jews to immigrate to Palestine, a migration that grew dramatically during the second quarter of the 20th century with the increased persecution of Jews worldwide and subsequent Holocaust perpetrated by Nazi Germany. This vast influx of Jewish immigrants into the region, however, caused tension with the native Palestinian Arabs, and violence flared between the two groups leading up to the United Nations plan to partition Palestine into Jewish and Arab sectors and Israel's ensuing declaration of statehood on May 14, 1948. Fast forward 45 years. In 1993, Israel held a series of negotiations with the Palestinian Liberation Organization in Oslo, Norway. The PLO's Yasser Arafat and Israel's Yitzhak Rabin famously shook hands in front of Bill Clinton in September of that year. Negotiations continued as Israel and the PLO worked to implement a two-state solution on the ground. In May 1994, a deal concluded in Cairo led to Israeli withdrawal from the cities of Gaza and Jericho later that month, and set up the Palestinian Authority to carry out civilian functions in those areas. This agreement also split the West Bank and the Gaza Strip into 3 types of territory: areas under Palestinian administration and security, Area A; areas under Palestinian administration, but joint Israeli-Palestinian security, Area B; and areas under Israeli administration and security, Area C. So Jericho is squeezed like a pomegranate on all sides by Area C, but is itself Area A. Just something to keep in mind when you're watching world news, or in your prayers when you're drinking fresh juice.